Welcome to the Wisdom That Breathes channel. Across all our platforms, we try to share wisdom which is relevant and accessible to everyone. But on this particular platform, we go deeper into some of the ancient principles found within the scriptures. If you find some of the terminology difficult or inaccessible, then go over to our Keshava Swami YouTube channel where you'll be able to find other content which is perhaps more relatable. Thank you and enjoy the wisdom that breathes.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. Really happy to be here. Could someone just tell me the time frames we're working with here? Because as I understand, I'm 1 hour late. Is it? We have no time. This kind of round rock is timeless. In another dimension of reality. Okay, I guess I'll speak for 20-30 minutes and then I'll open up for Q&A and then you just tell me when I'm ejected. Thank you so much. So yes, just to, maybe I'm here for the first time and insignificant as I am, it's always nice for perhaps you to know something about my journey and where I'm coming from. So I grew up in London, in the suburbs of London, in a place called Wembley. The story gets better from there. And I grew up coming to temples, but when I was 15, I had a hunger to try and really understand what is this all about. I had questions, as all of us do in our lives, about the future, about happiness, about success, about love. And so I began reading the Bhagavad Gita when I was 15. And the first time I read it just nothing went in. But it was the most profound experience because it was the first time I read a book, understood absolutely nothing and thought, this is an amazing book. It's like, how's that possible? So I realized I have to be more patient. I have to really try to understand this. I began going into the temple, asking devotees questions. And thus began my spiritual journey. And at 18, I began university. And that was a really amazing time for me. Experiencing life, and then when I was 21, I graduated and I decided to take a different direction in my life. So I journeyed to India and the land of spirituality, and I spent 6 months there living in an ashram. And that was that changed my life also completely. And I came back as a 21-year-old in London and told my mum and dad, I think I'm going to become a monk for 1 year. For 1 year, I said. But 1 year became 2, which became 5, 10. So yeah, I guess it's about 25 years now. Continue that journey. Still reading the Bhagavad Gita. I feel, I've been in contact with the Bhagavad Gita now for nearly 30 years of my life, and it's an incredible book. So I don't come in front of you as a self-realized soul. I come in front of you as a student, someone who's on the path, someone who's learning. But I picked up maybe some wisdom along the way, so I'll try to share that with you. So I think the topic for today is pessimism, optimism, or realism. Which one are you? Who thinks they're a pessimist? Okay, lots of humble people in the audience. It's interesting once actually, we do that common experiment where we hold up a glass and we're like, is it half full or half empty? Narendra Modi, he gave an interesting answer to that. They asked him, half full, half empty. He goes, it's completely full. Half with water, half with air. That was like another spiritual dimension of it. So sometimes we think, are devotees pessimistic? Are they realistic? Or are they optimistic? Which one are the Hare Krishna devotees? And my analysis of the situation is that the Hare Krishna devotees are all three. And I'll try to today explain to you what I mean by that. The first thing is that the Bhagavad Gita, in one sense, is a pessimistic book. Because the Bhagavad Gita basically tells us, if you try and be happy in this world, you're going to be frustrated. Like, don't even try, don't even go there. Abrahma bhumanaloka punaravartina Arjuna. Krishna is saying, from the highest planet in this material world down to the lowest planet, all are places wherein repeated birth and death take place, and there will be distress. Krishna says, Dukhalayam ashashvatam. It's a temporary place, it's full of misery. Later on in the 5th chapter, Krishna will tell Arjuna, Yehi samsparsha jaboga dukkhayonaya evate adyantavanta konteya nateshu ramate Buddha. If one is a Buddha, if one is an intelligent person, nateshu ramate, they won't start playing around with the types of happiness in this world. Why? Because dukkhayonaya evate. Very interesting terminology. Krishna says, every type of happiness in here, impregnated in that happiness, is distress. Sukha is the yoni of dukkha. You understand? Yoni means the womb. So in the womb of sukha, a happiness of this world, impregnated within it is distress. You can't separate the two. So if you think, I'm only going to take the smooth without the rough, it doesn't work. Of course, nowadays we have iTunes and all of these things, but back in the day when I was a kid, you can say that, they used to have cassettes, isn't it? Do you remember those days? The dark ages, when he had cassettes. And remember, on the cassette, there was like the song that you wanted on the A side, and then there was this like junk song on the B side. It was like, but you couldn't be like, I just want the A side, no B side. Like, no, it comes together. You come part of the package. So Krishna says, Dukkhayonaya evate. If you try to exploit this world, enjoy this world, manipulate this world for your own enjoyment, it never works. Like one of my uncles, he always wanted a Mercedes Benz. So then he got it. And then later on he told me, he goes, this thing is just doing my head in. He says, because every time I park it up, I'm just like, is someone going to scratch it? Is someone going to steal it? Is someone going to take it? It's interesting, even if you think about money, the Bhagavatam says this about money, that in attaining money is anxiety. Isn't it? You have to work so hard. When you have the money, it's anxiety. Even when the money is in the bank, it's anxiety. Like, is the IRS going to take it? Or, like, is this, even your kid. Just a side note, they said that there's 4 types of kids that you can have. And one type of kid is known as Rinu Putra. You heard this? So Rinu Putra means a son or a daughter that you have. And basically what happened is you cheated them in your previous life. So what they do in this life is they come back to you as your kid. And smiling and with sweet voice they say, Mama, Papa, and you think like, oh. And then they take away everything, smiling. I'm just warning you. These things happen in life, So money, when you're trying to get it, it's anxiety. When you have it, it's anxiety. But when you lose it, what kind of anxiety is that? It's crazy. But the whole world, we're searching. It's amazing, actually. So therefore, the Bhagavad Gita is a very, very pessimistic book about your opportunities for happiness in this world. It's very pessimistic. And everywhere you talk, the Bhagavad Gita talks about death. It's even like, as devotees of Krishna, spiritually, we talk about death, as though it's like a TV program on, like tonight. Like, yeah, we're going to die, death. Once I was giving a Sunday class like this at the Manor. Some of you may have been. So it's very beautiful, like Round Rock. And so I was giving the class. I was just thinking, yeah, we're gonna die. Death is there. Death is all around us. Death. This person came up to me after the class. He said, I just came here for a nice, relaxing Sunday afternoon in the sun. Have some nice food, and I'm sitting down, you just giving me a whole lecture about death, So people don't like to hear all this, It's like, say for example, if you go to watch a movie, isn't it? And then you're on the way to the movie and someone says, oh, you're going to that movie, you never guess what happens at the end. It's like, come on, don't tell me the end. I can't enjoy the show. So people don't want to talk about these things. But the reality is, so the first thing is that the Gita is pessimistic. Be in no doubt, the Gita is telling us pessimistically, there's no opportunity to be happy in this world. So if someone tells me, is the Gita a pessimistic book? I say yes. But then what I tell them is the Gita is a realistic book. Because this is not just a philosophy that there's no happiness in this world. This world is actually not a very nice place. It is a nice day today, and definitely Round Rock is a nice place, but the material world is not a nice place. Did you know that if you have food in your fridge, if you have clothes on your back, and if you have a roof to live under, you are more lucky than 75% of people in this world. That's amazing. Did you know that if you have a bank account and if you have wallet with a few spare change in it, of course not a spare change, if you have Apple iPay, if you have Apple iPay and if you have a bank account, you're amongst the 8%, the richest 8% people in the world. Did you know that if you can read English, or if you can read any language for that matter, you received educational opportunities that 50% of people in the world don't. And did you know that if you've never experienced war, unfair imprisonment, starvation, then you're luckier than 500 million people who are going through that right now. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because sometimes we look at this world and we think, maybe it's not so bad. What's up with these guys? So pessimistic. But actually it's the reality. It's not a very nice place. And someone may say, yeah, but all your statistics are to do with people on the other side of the world. I'm okay. I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm okay. I'm A-okay. So someone may say, but it doesn't. I got my body, I got my life, I got my family, and I'm happy. But even if you look at how much happiness this body can give you and how much distress it can give you, I'm sorry to tell you, the odds are stacked against you. I tell you why. Firstly, look at the duration of happiness that this body can give you and the duration of pain. Think about the things that give you happiness from this body. Eating a good meal, a romantic encounter, some praise that someone gives you. How long do those last? But now think about the duration of the pain. Imagine you get a lower back problem. I'm tall, so I get those kind of things, you know. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So, I mean, that's just with you. Imagine you get a headache. How long does that last? All the wives are looking at their husbands like, you are the this guy, he's been around for years. It's amazing. The duration, the odds are stacked against you. Not just that, the intensity. What's the intensity of the material happiness you can get from this body? The most intense happiness. And then think about the intensity of the pain that you can experience from this body. I mean, sometimes the pain is so great. People need things like morphine and, you know, it's like to just dull it out. Think about the variety. Think about all the ways in which the body could give you happiness, and then balance it with all the ways in which the body can give you distress. Is stacked against. So therefore, number one, someone may say the Gita is pessimistic. But we say ultimately the Gita is realistic. Because this is not just a philosophy. If we look at the world and what's going on in the world, this is actually true. That there's no happiness in this material world. However, the Gita is also supremely optimistic. Because the Gita says, although there's no happiness in this world, although our plans for trying to find complete gratification here will always be foiled, there is a way in which you can experience unending, eternal, spiritual happiness. It's interesting, in Sanskrit literature, there are different words for different things. So say for example, the material body. One name of the material body is Kleshada. But it's interesting, in the Bhagavatam, just a few cantos after, the material body in Sanskrit is called Arthada. Now, da means to give. That's the word everyone's like dangerous about, like give. Yes, da, like we say dan. Da means to give. So one name of the material body in Sanskrit is klesha da. What does klesha mean? Misery. The etymological meaning of the word material body in Sanskrit is that which gives you misery. But it's interesting, in the same Bhagavatam, the material body is also known as Arthada. And what does Artha mean? It can mean different things. In this context, it means benefit. So the material body is also known as Arthada, that which gives you the greatest benefit. So which one is it? Is it a body which is going to give you misery? Or is it a body which is going to give you the greatest benefit? Which one is it? Depends on how you use it. The material world in Sanskrit is known as Dukhalaya, isn't it? But one of our acharyas also says, Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. He says this material world is Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. He says it's fully, perfectly endowed with happiness. It's like, are these guys speaking the same philosophy? Yeah. Is it full of distress or is it full of happiness? It can be either, depending on how you interact with this world. And so, this material body can give you the greatest benefit. This material world can give you the greatest happiness. Even in the midst of Krishna being pessimistic about our opportunities for happiness here, as long as we try to do it and find it in the right way. Some people, they look at the world and they try to enjoy it and exploit it. Then know for sure that we're going to be in for problems. Other people, what they'll do is they look at the world, they become frustrated, and they try to escape the world. I'm going to run away from the world. I don't want anything more to do with this world. But the devotees, they don't try to enjoy the world. They don't even try to escape the world. But what they do is they engage the world. They engage the world in Krishna's service. They engage all of the things that they have in spiritual connection. And by doing that, they actually find spiritual happiness. So therefore, sometimes people romanticize the world and say like, it's a wonderful world. There was a song like that, right? Is it? It's a wonderful world. Who was that? Who am I thinking? Louis Armstrong, that's it. Louis Armstrong, right? And then some people try to demonize the world. No, it's terrible, it's a fortress, it's a prison, get out. And both elements can have truth, but the ultimate thing we try to do, rather than romanticizing the world, rather than demonizing the world, is we just utilize the world in the right way. So the Bhagavad Gita is a very, very powerful book, because what it helps us to do is actually learn how to interact with this world in such a way that we will become happy. But in order to become happy, we have to be pessimistic about material happiness. We have to be realistic about what's going on in this world. And then we have to be optimistic that if I engage in devotional service, in spiritual activity, then all my dreams will be fulfilled. So most people are running around trying to fulfill all their dreams in this world. But what Krishna says is, rather than pursuing your dreams in this world, you'd be better off discovering the reality of the spiritual world. Because the dreams of this world, ultimately, they'll never satisfy us. But the reality of the spiritual world exceeds our greatest dreams. And so if someone is wise, then they will orientate their consciousness in that way. And so the basic message of the Gita, if you want to sum it up in one line, is that the whole world is looking for the right thing in the wrong place. We're looking for the right thing, but we're looking in the wrong place. We're approaching it with the wrong mindset, and we're pursuing the wrong things. And so this is why the Gita is so powerful. We take it with us, it's our constant companion, and it really helps us to navigate everything in this world. Tomorrow when we go out, we all have to make decisions. We all have to decide certain things. So when we're equipped with this knowledge, we can make decisions which will bring us towards the happiness that we seek. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. So I'm conscious not to speak for too long. I don't know, Mataji, if we have time for Q&A or whether we should finish here. Happy to take your guidance.
Maharaj, we already established that time is eternal.
Oh,
here,
okay.
So actually, as of a few days ago, the clock stopped working anyway, so which is reality. The clock was not working last week, so I think the clock has stopped.
Frozen in eternity.
It is frozen in eternity. That's our subtle plot of keeping you here in eternity and not going to other temples
so
in
much.
Texas. If you're here, then that's what it is. But let's give another round of applause to Mark.
Sure.
Maybe we can do a couple of questions. If anyone has any questions, please. Chaitanya Chandra.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So there was a debate which me, my wife, and my daughter, we were having early they speak.
Hope it didn't become Kurukshetra.
The question which we had is that Shri Krishna, Shri Rama, Shri Vishnu Bhagavan, they killed billions of demons and their armies, right? So basically when one is killed by Shri Krishna and his avatars, he gets liberated, or he gets basically again come back into this material world to do rest of the bhakti, or he basically go to hell. Because there are examples like Bhutna, or we say even like Jai Vijay came as concern. So there was this question like, what happens to these billions of demons which are killed by Krishna avatar?
Okay. I'll answer it quickly. Just because I'm trying to stay on the topic of what we're talking about. But no, it's a good question. Thank you, bro. So what happens to all the different demoniac elements who are killed by Krishna? Whatever Krishna does is an exhibition of love, isn't it? In the world today, they have a concept, the language of love. Isn't it? There's a book like that as well. Not that I've read it, but I'm just telling you. So different people show their love in different ways, isn't it? Like sometimes people show their love by doing things for you, practical things. Sometimes people show their love for you by speaking to you and always messaging you, are you okay? How are you doing? And sometimes people show their love for you by being strong. So you did that wrong. You can do better. Why did you do like that? That we call tough love, isn't it? So, like say for example, when Krishna comes as Nishingadev, no, but that's some tough love there, you know. That's also love. Love? You know, it's like sometimes people can't, you know, because people see this picture of Nishingadev. You have one here? Where is it? Oh, it's on the altar. Okay, on the altar. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, we have a big one. You see where this Prabhupada one is? In the manor, we have a big one there. So I was showing one. Look at all of these beautiful pictures. And then it was like, boom. So this new family, they said, well, like, what is this? So the devotee said, this is what happened to the last person who refused to give a donation. Anyway, then he went on to describe the real story. But it's interesting. So Nishingadev is tough love. Actually, when they painted that picture of Nishingadev, then they took it to Prabhupada. So they said, Prabhupada, give us your verdict. So Prabhupada was looking at this picture of Nishingadev, you know, ripping Hiranyakashipu. And Prabhupada looked at it and he said, good. More blood. More blood. It's like, okay, more blood. So the point I'm making here is that Krishna is very, very kind. Whatever Krishna does is always for the upliftment, always for the benefit. So there's no question of anyone coming into contact with Krishna and becoming degraded. Krishna's influence in our life is always in such a way that it will uplift us and take us towards our highest aspiration. And so anyone who comes in contact with Krishna, anyone who comes in contact with Krishna consciousness for that matter, anyone who comes in contact with the holy name of Krishna, there's no question of them going down. Even if someone comes in contact with the holy name and they kind of make fun, like, oh yeah, you're the Hare Krishnas, the Krishnas, right, the Krishnas. Even then, that chanting of the holy name gives them incredible benefit. The 6th canto of the Bhagavatam says, Sanketyam parihasyam vai stobam helanameva va Vaikunthanam agrahanam asheshaga haram vidum. Even if the holy name is chanted neglectfully, jokingly, even if the holy name is chanted indicating something else, still Vaikunthanam agrahanam, because one has grasped that transcendental vibration, asheshaga haram vidum, unlimited sinful reactions are that person is liberated from that. So, yes, anyone who comes in contact with Krishna, it's all good. All right, thank you. Yeah, so anyone can ask a question. If possible, you could keep the question to the topic that we just because then it helps us go a little deeper in the...
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Maharaj, thank you. That was such a wonderful, enlightening, short but very, very powerful presentation, especially the word when you said yoni, the sukha being the yoni of dukkha. My question is, because we're talking about optimism, pessimism, realism, there are many times in life where we know what optimism is, yet we feel pessimistic. So how do we maintain optimism in our lives? Like, is it possible to have optimism all the time? And how do we do that?
Thank you so much. Yeah, sometimes we know there's a very optimistic vision that the Gita gives us, but we become very pessimistic. We think, can I do it? Will I do it? Do I want to do it? We have doubts in ourselves about our ability sometimes to walk this path. So how do we remain enthusiastic and optimistic? The association of devotees is magical. In my life, if you would ask me what my greatest wealth is, hands down, I would say my relationships and friendships with spiritual people. How powerful my chanting is, Krishna knows. Not very powerful. How much have I understood of the scriptures? Yes, we can sit in front of a mic and recite some verses. How much I've absorbed this knowledge, I don't know. How impressive I am in my austerity, my discipline, not very impressive. But when the Vaishnavas are in our lives, then anything can happen. Prabhupada says in one purport, the association of devotees is so powerful that one will be forcibly dragged to success. Nice statement. When I heard that statement, I thought of the Mumbai trains. I don't know if you've ever been on the Mumbai trains, but if you're coming up to a stop and you need to get off, you just need to maneuver yourself into the carriage. Anyway, when it comes to the station, everyone starts moving. You don't even need to walk. They just carry you. It's like that. So in our life, we need Vaishnavas who are going to push us. Vaishnavas, my spiritual master, he said to me, the greatest gift you can have in your life is someone who has more faith in you than you have in yourself. If you have devotees like that in your life, then we remain supremely optimistic. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Ekaki amar, nahi paya bal, harinam sankirtane. Alone, nahi paya bal. Alone I have no strength. We're all inspired here. But then, Monday morning, it's a different story. Ekaki amar nahi paya bal, harina. Alone I don't. But then what does he say? Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Krishna is yours. You have Krishna. So now, dhai tava pache pache, I'm running behind you. You give me Krishna. So when you're with the devotees, life becomes very beautiful. Therefore Narottam says, Tadera charana sevi bhakta sanevas janame janame hoy e abhilash. To serve the devotees, to be with the devotees is my desire, life after life. Vaishnav Sangha is golden, transforms everything. But it's not easy to live together. We have our differences sometimes. But can't live with them sometimes, you think? Definitely can't live without them. Alone, not possible. So our optimism comes from devotees who give us that faith, who give us enthusiasm, that optimism comes from seeing that this devotee is doing it, isn't it? We want to see a living theology. We don't want to just read a theology. We want to see a living theology. And when we see this person is living it. I felt like that in my life that, sorry, I'm going on a bit here, but we do that sometimes. We sometimes think the pure devotees are the ones who we read about in the books. The ones in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, definitely. Over my lifetime, my small insignificant lifetime, I realized the pure devotees are living here even today. I witnessed in front of my eyes Vaishnavas who just gave everything, never held anything back. And I realized, my God, the saints are walking amongst us. There's probably even a few saints in Round Rock. But we may not appreciate in the midst of just living together and being very familiar. So, but when we see these devotees, they're living. Yeah. Even a devotee who chants 16 rounds every day. Think like, oh, he's chanting 16 rounds. Well done, Prabhu. If you think about it, who in this world prays for 2 hours a day? I pray for 2 hours a day. My God, can we make you a saint? I mean, you know, like, it's a big thing, actually, if you think about it in those terms. But we just think, this devotee's chanting 16 rounds, but why didn't you turn up for his service? You know, like, we don't see the... It's amazing. So the Vaishnavas are very wonderful. So please always stay together. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. But if you want to walk far, walk with many. Stay together. Always stay in community. That's why these communities, these temples are so glorious. Okay, that's some thoughts there. Otherwise, you get the last question. No pressure.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the amazing class. So I know that we often hear that we need to romanticize the small things in life and the small moments and be happy, take everything as a grain of salt, just to maintain our own peace every day. But then we also hear how much misery there is in this world. So how do we navigate every day of life and be happy, but how do we
not get carried away?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. So every day there are good things, every day there are some difficult things. And how do we not get carried away in the good times or the bad times? You know the story? Once there was a king and he said to all the subjects, I want someone to give me a gift that will make me happy when I'm sad and sad when I'm happy. So once I was asking an audience this, can you give me a gift that will make me happy when I'm sad and sad when I'm happy? And one guy just shot up and he said, marriage. I said, you said it, not me. I said, is it you? Anyway, so the king asked this subject. So anyway, everyone was baffled. Everyone was baffled. Like, what kind of gift can you give? So then one person came, he said, I know it, I got it. So he was convinced. So he came in front of the king. The king said, this better be good. And he gave him a box. So the king said, how is this going to make me happy when I'm sad and sad when I'm happy? So the person said, open it. So he opened it. And it was a ring. No, marriage ring. So the king was like, what's the meaning of this? He said, look at it closely. And on the ring was 4 words. This too shall pass. Matra sparshas tu konteya sitoshna sukadukada Agama payino nityas tam stitikshashva bharata. Happiness and distress in this world comes like the winter and summer seasons. Just comes and goes. Winter's there. The next season is coming. We know. We're already preparing. You're already preparing for winter. Right? Do they have winter in Round Rock? I'm sure they do. It's coming. So, Krishna says, Dukeshva nudvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spriha vitta raga bhaya krodha stita dhir muni uchyate. One should not be elated in happiness or overwhelmed in distress. One should be free from fear, attachment, anger. One should become a sage of the steady mind. So knowledge helps us to understand. Don't take the happiness too seriously. It's just momentary. And yes, this world is meant for pain. But after some time it will go. And it's just going on like this. So therefore, nate shu ramate buddha. Don't play around with all these things. Don't take it so serious. So it's like that. Sometimes someone may glorify us. Okay, thank you so much. But move on. So I'll just give you one final statistic. Federer, one of the best tennis players ever. Federer played 1,500 matches. And you know how many matches he won? There is a spiritual purport to this, by the way. It's just not me talking about tennis. He won over 80% of his matches. But when you look at the points, he only won 50% of the points. Right? So there's a lesson there. He only won 50% of the points, but he still won 80% of the matches. In other words, a point is a point. You win some, you lose some. But a point is a point. Once you've won it, don't get excited. Just move on to the next point. And if you lose it, don't get bewildered. Just move on to the next point. Because even if you lose 50% of the points, you can still win 80% of the matches. Because a point is just a point. And so sometimes we feel like I'm losing all the points here, but if you just move on and play the next point without becoming overly excited or bewildered, and you just keep going, then it all works out. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Pleasure to be with you.